Hello and welcome to the Finnish Football Show. Producer Mark is not with us this morning, and we're going to sit here with Rich and just pick the bones out of that lovely display last night between Finland and Wales. The game finished 0-0. It had a crowd of I don't remember what the exact attendance was, but it was a smattering of Finnish individuals and a small Welsh contingent. Rich, what did you make of the game?
Oh, it was difficult, wasn't it? It's one of these where we've talked before. It's an international friendly before a double header of important World Cup qualifiers. So both teams really were kind of just looking ahead and making sure they could get through it unscathed. The first half was very much a training game. It was 45 minutes of, I think, was it described as 11 training cones against 11 training cones. Wales did have a penalty, which was very nicely saved by Saku Eriksson on his debut. And I've been asked to remind people who listen to podcasts that apparently he's a free agent at the end of the year. So
really,
yeah. So his contract is up at Mjällby at the end of December. So yes,
he played really well. I mean, it was a like the dampest to squibs, so to say. But the penalty stop, Wilson's penalty wasn't exactly powerful or in the corner, but it needed saving, and he got down to it all right. And he looked pretty assured for a kid making his debut.
Yeah, very much. I mean, Hradecky will be back for the Kazakhstan game on Saturday. Jesse Jorinen's dad passed away yesterday, which is why he wasn't in the squad. I don't know if he might have featured otherwise, but it's difficult because of the Finland team who started. I guess you probably only had 3 players who consider first choice in Raitala, Toivio and Kamara. A lot of people, say like Eriksson, for example, making his debut. Kaarinen, I think that was his first proper international, because the others were the January ones, weren't they?
In Dubai. Yeah, it's the first one on European soil and on home soil. I actually thought Kaarinen did quite well. I thought he was quite tidy in the middle of the pitch. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he kept the ball well, and basically as anybody would do, just fed it to Kamara.
Yeah, I guess maybe Rivo was looking at him as a Sparv replacement or a Sparv understudy. I think that's one of Sparv's roles anyway. Obviously he does a lot more, but that's someone who's really needed. And then having Marcus Forss and Fredrik Jensen up front was difficult because they weren't getting a lot of chances. They did have the ball in the net a couple of times across the game, but when you're playing a team from the British Isles who have centre halves like that, they're all going to play in a particular way. They're not particularly cultured, and they didn't really get a lot. It was an experience and a tough one for them, but didn't get a lot of change.
I thought Jensen was pretty industrious. He kept dropping back in the hole, like out from the forward line a little bit towards midfield to come and pick up the ball, and he got deeper as the half went on. And Force, I mean, apart from, I think he scored in that first minute kick-off. He went to close down, I think it was Ampadu, nicked the ball off him and scored. I didn't think that was a foul. I didn't think. No. I thought there was absolutely nothing wrong with that, and he was really unlucky to have that chalked off, because it would have like, considering how dull the game was after that, it would have been pretty helpful for it to get an early goal. But I thought he was unlucky with that one. But although apart from that goal disallowed, I can't remember Force really kind of imposing himself on the game in any other way.
No, and we had some other some of the other fringe players playing. Asinoon looked quite industrious on the left side. Hämäläinen was getting in and out the 11. He's getting minutes now in LA Galaxy, and Robert Ivanov looks pretty decent at centre half as well.
Yeah, Ivanov was all right. Hämäläinen, I like going forward. I think he's got a lot of good energy. He's passing for Jensen in behind. I think it was about half an hour. He dropped him in. I thought it was a beautiful pass. But then defensively, I think he got caught out. He was ball watching for when we conceded the penalty. So he was pushed forward. The ball came over the top of him, and he was always fighting a losing battle to try and pick up the Welsh kid. I think it was Johnson, and he took him down pretty. When I first saw it, I thought, no, it's never a penalty. And then you watch the replay, and like, oh Jesus, he's properly felled him. So.
And then we had the usual expected changes for the second half. Upinisila from Cups came on and looked some of his club form into the national team. He looked promising and certainly up the tempo a little bit, which is what was needed.
Yeah, he did change the game. It's quite frustrating when I've watched him a fair amount, but I haven't been watching him sort of week in, week out with Coops. And I thought he had a couple of shots from distance that were quite good. He had a couple of nice link up plays, but then every now and again he'd just sort of pass the ball into 5 yards of space. But I mean, I suppose he's a kid making his debut and he'll improve. But it was a bit. He did give us like a good impetus, but a little bit of quality maybe missing there for the final ball.
Yeah, and so we come away with a 0-0 draw, which I suppose on paper isn't a bad result. But I think when you look at the Wales team, I think they brought Bale on with about 7 minutes to go. This is very much Wales's B team as well. It's hard to really judge. This is the scenario we're in now. I mean, we've talked about the World Cup qualifiers coming up, and France, for example, are in the mid. They've played their first of 3 games last night. And so they kind of their pace is slightly different, and Finland got Kazakhstan on Saturday. Are we assuming back to normal for Finland?
I think so. I mean, I think I don't think anybody that's on the fringes would have done anything in the Wales game. Maybe Jensen. I think maybe Jensen when he came off a bit early might be in contention, but apart from that, I can't see anybody else really sort of challenging for a place based on the Wales performance. It's always going to be hard. I think before the match, Rive went out in the press and said, if we didn't have to play this game, we wouldn't be playing it, which is always a great motivational speech. Go on, guys, go out there and just complete your obligations to FIFA. That's all it was. But at the same time, in Group D, so we've got Kazakhstan coming up. They had a right blinder against Ukraine.
Yeah, say the game was heading towards a 1-1 draw, going into the 90th minute. Ukraine scored early. I think Yaremchuk scored after about 2 or 3 minutes. Blinding
beauty, absolute beauty, tipping over the keeper.
So going into injury time, Ukraine scored, I think, in the 93rd minute to give them a 2-1 lead, and then at 96 or 97 minutes, I'm sure Kazakhstan equalised, which in a group that's, I suppose, if you look below France, and even France aren't running away with it, it's very tight among those 4 teams, because you've got then a draw in that game. France were held 1-1 against Bosnia, and Finland suddenly. I mean, everyone looks at Kazakhstan as the 5th seed and the whipping boys. They are not the whipping boys at all.
Absolutely not. But this kid, I mean, when you look at the highlights, I looked at that. What's his name? Is it Ruslan Valiulin? He's clearly the kid, because I mean he scored twice against Ukraine, and they were both, I mean, really lovely sort of half volleys smashed in from the angle, really good finishes. But it does seem like he takes a great amount of the attacking threat. It was basically the same kind of goal for the first and the second, when it was a diagonal over the top, and then a kind of shot in from the angle. But yeah, it's tight. It's so tight that us, Kazakhstan, and Bosnia are on 2 points, and then having played a game more, I think it's Ukraine on 4 points, and then France with 8. And you think, well, if we win, we'll be level on games, and then we'll be on 5, so we'll get into the playoff spot. And I watched the France Bosnia game last night, and I mean, I know they lost a player, but they really did struggle to break down Bosnia. I think there's a fair amount of hope. Finland can take a lot of solace and a lot of hope from the Bosnia game, because this France team, it doesn't look like the clinical world champions that we thought they were.
No, with 4 games gone, they've only scored 5 goals. So it's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people would have looked on paper at this group and thought it would be France +1, and then where'd you get that one from? But we're sort of coming up to about halfway through now, and it's very, very solid. I mean, we'll know a lot more by this time next week. But it's funny to watch how this is going to happen. And with Finland again, we're kind of perhaps guilty of overconfidence ourselves. Finland's
Hmm.
I think Finland have won once in the last year, and that was in a Euro 2020 game. But it would be fun to see. And again, there were, I think we had just over 4,000. The attendance was at the Wales game yesterday. I think that there were around double that tickets available. So hopefully for the Kazakhstan, it'd be nice. Was it 4:00 kickoff on a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah,
in Helsinki. That should be a
in the sunshine, expecting to win. It should be a pretty good crowd. But I think, the Kazakhstan tickets are on sale now. But I think for the Wales game, they only went like a day before, so I think they didn't give a lot of people time to sort of prepare to get tickets and to head down. But the Kazakhstan game is a different one. I know Kazakhstan have been playing very well, but I think, they're very happy with what they've done so far. Hopefully some of that good energy might just ebb out, and I think if we can be a bit more industrious, hopefully not go with a 5 at the back, then I think we should be able to get something. But they do appear to be quite tricky.
Yeah, I'd say it's a fairly full strength. Sparv should be back for Saturday, I think Riva said. So it's a fairly full strength Finland team. So hopefully you think you'll give them a good game, and afterwards we'll sit down and pick the bones out of it and wonder whether it was a one to look forward to or not. But it was as a little taster, I suppose. A friendly isn't the worst thing in the world, but having to sit down and actually watch it
it was tough going. tough going last night. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, if you, dear listener, want to catch up on our more detailed match report, it's available at thefinishfootballshow.com. And if you want to catch up with some of the hilarious tweets that Rich was putting out during the game, you can find him at
Escape to Suomi.
And then if you want to check out anything else that we put out, you can find me at FC Suomi. At Keke Mulleri is Keke, our other co-host, his handle, and then
he's at Keke Mulleri, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's also good on Instagram. And then the other producer Mark, who's not here today, although we'll be editing this, the handsome beast, is at Explore Finland. There you go.
Yes, and just a little plug, because I shared a picture of the pre-match graphic, because I watched it on Welsh TV last night because I'm cheap. Someone suggested that I needed to buy a new TV because my telly is 12 years old. So if you want to buy us a coffee and contribute towards my new TV, the link is on the website.
Yep. The at Escape to Suomi TV fund is officially open. Contribute now. Great. Thanks, Rich. Talk it easy.
Cheers, Mark.